Today I downloaded iOS 10 for my iPhone 6, and I don't have an iPhone 6S or an iPhone 7, so I'm starting to feel a little bit behind the times, even though my phone works great right now. But upgrading to iOS 10 was kind of an interesting experience. I upgraded during a meeting that I was in, so the download and restart and all of that happened while I was in this meeting. And when I returned to my phone, I saw that the process of unlocking your phone's a little bit different now. You can do that just by clicking on the home button. Also saw that there's more notification access from the lock screen, which is interesting and useful in some ways. And then I also see that swiping open the camera is probably more accessible now, because instead of having to hit a specific little spot on the bottom of the phone and to swipe up, you can just swipe anywhere. I guess this would be left swipe, and the camera will open that way. And I think that's helpful because the quicker you can get the camera open, the more candid of a shot you can capture. And because we carry these phones around with us everywhere, there conceivably should be some really candid photographs where you get a picture of something that's really funny or really beautiful or whatever that you wouldn't be able to get a picture of by staging that same event. And so speed to open time is important. And then I like the way that I have control over the things that show up in the, I don't know what to call it. You swipe right on your home screen, and then you have this little panel that has your search bar and some different options. And it used to be stuck with a few things. You couldn't customize it at all. And now you have some control over what you see there. And so I like that. I'm somebody who likes to customize my menus and get like news. I don't want to see news because it's always just filled with crap about Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. I don't want that on my phone. But I do want to see my calendar events and my tasks and upcoming things that I'm working on. So I like that I can customize that now. There's some cool new little things you can do with the Messages app. And then I also understand that all of the phone calls that you make, whether it's through Skype or WhatsApp or any of the other VoIP services, can now actually be seen in your recent calls list, which is interesting that Apple is taking that route. So all in all, I think iOS 10 is a good upgrade from everything I can see thus far. And one of the things that I've wrestled with back and forth is the idea of using the native apps that Apple gives you, like Calendar and Maps and Notes, for instance, those being three specific examples, and whether or not those are better on the iPhone than the alternatives that exist. So for instance, you can use the Notes app, which is native, or you could use a third-party app like Evernote or Simple Note. And there are some additional features and functions that Evernote or Simple Note offer you that you don't get in the native Notes app. But historically, you haven't been able to delete any of the native apps that come on the phone. So if you want to use a third-party app, you're forced to have two. And Google Maps versus the Maps app that comes pre-installed on the iPhone. I've had much better experiences with Google Maps than I have with the Apple Maps, and I know that they're continually trying to improve it, but I've just had a bunch of situations with Apple Maps where it doesn't tell me to turn soon enough, and then I'm not in the wrong lane and I miss an exit or whatever, and then I have to reroute and waste a bunch of extra time. So I like Google Maps better, but then that means I have to have two Maps apps. And then the last one, what did I say? Calendar. So I use Google Calendar because I use Gmail for my personal email and calendar. And so I downloaded the native Google Calendar app, and I don't really have a preference about the user interface one way or the other. So I think I could probably get away with using the native calendar app. But it just seems like there are some limitations that I can't really put my finger on and say it doesn't do this and this and this. But there have just been times when I'm creating an event or trying to respond to an invitation or see who's involved in the event, and it just feels more challenging with the native app on the iPhone than it needs to be. And so I have 2 calendar apps, and I run into these kind of questions a lot. Is it better to record video from the camera on the iPhone, or is it better to use a third-party app like Movie Pro, which I've downloaded? I think it's like $5 in the App Store. But one of the functions you can do with that is while you're recording, you can click a button and the camera will flip to the other side, which is not something that you've been able to do with the camera on the iPhone. So the functionality or the capability exists, but it just doesn't exist within the native camera app that the phone comes with. Or should I record directly with YouTube? Because when you're recording directly with YouTube, you get to use the YouTube Creator Studio, and you also have an easier upload experience, at least from my experience, than you have when you have the video saved directly to your phone. So overall, these are some of the things that I wonder about, and I often think about going back to having an Android device at some point in the future. I had Android devices all the way up until last year when I got this iPhone 6, and overall the iPhone has been a good experience. It hasn't been a bad one. I know that there's a lot of people that are religious about their phone, iPhone fans or Android fans, and I think they're all being a little bit ridiculous because the phones are very, very similar in capability in almost every way today. So all of the things that Apple announced about how great the new iPhone 7 is are very similar to the flagship phones that are made by Samsung or LG. And the Android phones have some things that they do that the iPhones can't, and so there's valid points on both sides, but the majority of people are going to be happy with whatever solution that they're using. You make phone calls, you send text messages, you have email apps, you have your sports apps, you have YouTube, you have social media, and then a few specific things to you and your personality. But the digging into the details on what makes the difference between the platforms for most people is an irrelevant discussion. Just use whatever works best for you, whatever you're already using. And so now, after having tried both of the platforms, I realized that there's not a lot of things that are specific to iPhone that I need or that I love. But there's also not as much friction as I anticipated. Has a wide variety of different things available as far as apps and kind of all of the normal consumer features that I would use are baked in, and there's native apps that cover most of that functionality. So to recap, iOS 10, good update, and I think iPhone 7 is a good upgrade for anyone that has a iPhone 6 or older. If you have a 6S, the upgrade feels a little superfluous, but and then for those of you that love Android, I think it's great. I think having expandable storage and some of those different things that you can do with an Android phone that you can't with an iPhone are valuable for the right people. Storage is something that I'm constantly fighting with this phone, especially while I'm doing vlogging, and I never thought that would be an issue because I got the 64 gigabyte version of the iPhone, but it is an issue nonetheless, and I'm constantly uploading photos and backing up my photos and then deleting them all and deleting all the videos from my phone after I upload a vlog, and so having expandable storage on a phone that has a superior camera and a larger screen, some of those things may sway me to buy an Android device in the future. So I guess my question for the day is, what kind of phone do you have? Have you had the other version before? and what are some of your favorite apps, and what are some of the things that you wish you could do that your phone doesn't allow you to do. Some of your pain points with your phone, if you will.